Okay, it's time for us to define success in our roles. So by the end of this lesson, we will set the bar for success in each of the roles in our life. So we've now got a list of roles, and we need to talk about what defines success in those roles. So again, back to what I stated in the introduction, this needs to be selfish. This needs to be about you. Success is what you say it is. If you say that what defines success for you in a specific role, aim at that. Now, you can always get feedback, especially when it involves other people. The spouse role is a great example where you might want your spouse to weigh in on, do they see the same thing you see as success? Maybe just staying married is not enough of a goal or enough of a success marker. So talk to them about it, get their involvement, but at the end of the day, you set the bar for what success is defined as. And don't be afraid to reach. We're going to talk about that when we get to how we do SMART or FAST goals. And you need to be able to reach for something here. Don't make it a layup. Otherwise, you're really not setting a goal. You're just saying, hey, I'm going to continue to do what I've always done. Because you're probably not making an incremental improvement by setting what you're setting, if it's that easy. And you need to block out the judgment of others. When I say that, you need to make sure you're not letting outside influences of what you think people want to see from you. Let's take your career role. Maybe other people define success in the particular career role you're in a certain way. You don't have to necessarily agree with those success markers. In fact, I would encourage you to block their ideas of success out. If you agree with them, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But just going along with the crowd is not going to give you a feeling of accomplishment and success if you achieve the goal. You need to say what you define as success. You'll probably find your bar is higher than most others. So there are SMART goals. These have been around since 1981. They're very tested, proven methodology. When you make a goal for yourself, it needs to be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. And we said for this workshop, we're going to use a 1-year period. Feel free to change that if it's not right for you in a specific area, but these are great ways to set your goals around. And these will take some craftsmanship around wordsmithing what you're trying to say in order to make sure that anybody that you take it to can understand very quickly. They can read it and understand, did you achieve that goal or not? There's no room for vague or subtle. It needs to be very concrete and specific, and it needs to be measurable, something that nobody has to guess at. Nobody has to be inside your brain to know. I want to lose weight. That's not a SMART goal. I want to lose 10 pounds by the end of the year. That is more of a SMART goal, and if it's realistic. I don't know if it's realistic for everybody. It depends. There's a lot of other factors that occur there. But if you say, I want to lose 200 pounds in a year, I don't know that that's a very realistic goal without a lot of help. And maybe you've got that help. Again, it's going to be based on your situation, not on somebody else's, which is why you need to block it out. So SMART is the way I've always done it. I think it's a great way. George Doran came up with this in 1981, and I don't see anything wrong with it at all. However, as of late, MIT has come up with their own competing, after doing lots of studies at Sloan, they found out that FAST goals are better. That is a subjective statement by them because they're doing certain studies based on their methodology for studying that to say that the FAST goals are better than the SMART goals. So the jury's way out. This just was developed in 2018. FAST goals were developed, and it's frequently discussing the goals. So these goals have to be out there, and they have to be talked about all the time. This is the equivalent of what we're going to talk about later with SMART goals around tracking. So frequently discussed and tracking really go hand in hand. So if you've got SMART goals with tracking, you're really doing that. Ambitious means not setting the bar low. And so as long as the SMART goal is, that one thing SMART doesn't say is challenge yourself, go high, try to reach. If you fall short, it's okay. And it's very important that you understand failure is not necessarily failure if you still improved. And so it's about setting something that's you got to reach for. So an ambitious goal, this is one area where I wish maybe we need to make, instead of achievable, which is where people are saying don't make it so far reaching that you can't get it. Maybe we need to change in SMART the A to be ambitious, because that's I think that is a better word. Specific obviously fits in with SMART goals on being specific. You have to make sure that anybody that reads this goal, anybody, it can be a 5-year-old, they can understand by watching what you've done, did you achieve the goal or not? It cannot be ambiguous. It cannot be vague. And last, it's got to be transparent, which again means putting yourself out there where you're letting people know what the goal is. I'm a big fan of this, but we're going to talk about in a later section why this is probably a challenge for many of you. And we're going to talk about ways to overcome that if you can. Not an easy thing to do, but being transparent, I think, helps you. A lot of people feel like it hurts them, and we'll talk about why that is. So using the what, why, how. So in this method, we want to build a smarter, fast goal for each of our roles. And we want to ask ourselves, what do we want to accomplish? What is it that would be a reaching goal, an ambitious goal, but an achievable goal? What are the things that are specific and measurable that we want to accomplish in that specific role in our life? It can be as easy as, if it's spiritual, maybe it's that you attend church half the year or every Sunday. Whatever, it has to be what's important to you and what matters to you. And as you go through all the roles in your life, this is the hard part that's mentioned here above, be ready for the things that are going to show up that you weren't ready to deal with. I call them therapy, but there's going to be some things that are going to be hard for you to take on and deal with. It could be a relationship with your spouse. It could be a relationship with other family or friends. It could be a relationship with your kids. It could be a number of different things, and everybody's got their own things to deal with. And not everybody's life is so simple that you can just make a list of roles, make a list of goals with those roles, and everything's just hunky-dory. That's not going to happen for most of us. There's probably one or two areas of our life that are challenging, that are hard, that are difficult. And if you don't start dealing with them to make them better, they're just going to continue to traumatize and stress you out. And this is a way to incrementally improve those areas to where they can be a little bit better next year. But you got to start making the effort. Build a community. This is one of the best things that I've ever seen added to the goal setting workshop. It is for each role that you identify and the goal that you set, list 3 people you know that can make you better in that role based on that goal. Find 3 people in your life, whether it's on Facebook, social media, your friends, your neighbors. If there's somebody you think is a better parent than you, the way you want to parent, ask them to sit down for coffee. Ask them to go to lunch and pick their brain. Give them the compliment. Hey, I really respect the way you parent. These are people you should be able to identify for every role. If there's a spiritual component, who do you admire spiritually that you would like to follow and learn from? And ask them questions and have those questions ready. If there's people that are better at being friends, how you see them deal with their friends. If there's people that are better in their career than you are, in the same career path you are on, how can you learn from them? Spend some time. This community, you will find, will get behind you. They will cheer you on, and they will want you to succeed. Talk to them. Let them know what you're trying to accomplish. This gets back to the thing we talked about with fast goals, about being transparent. This is that opportunity to do it without the fear of the negative people out there. We'll talk about that in a later section. In conclusion, for each role in your life, you should now be able to build and define what you want as a goal for the next year to accomplish. And it should be something that you have to reach for. It should be something that is measurable. It should be something that's very obvious. Now, I will promise you, if you haven't had a lot of practice at SMART goals, you need some wordsmithing practice. Take this to somebody who doesn't know you and say, if you read that goal, is it obvious what it will take for me to achieve this? That it's very clear. If you say, I'm just going to go to the gym 3 times a week, and they ask you, well, what happens if on 1 week in the whole year you only went twice? Did you still succeed? That means your goal still needs some wordsmithing in order to make it better about what you're trying to accomplish. So don't be afraid to put those things in there. So your action item for this section is to build a SMART or FAST, if you choose to follow the MIT method, goal for each role in your life. Down below in the downloads, you've got the worksheets where you can either download and print them out or just electronically work them. But what you want to do is for each role, identify a SMART goal, make sure you can give it to anybody and it's very obvious to them the factors that are listed. It won't be ambiguous on if you achieve the goal or not. I want to lose weight, 1 pound, 5 pounds, 20 pounds. What does that look like? Make sure it's very specific and anybody who reads it can understand if you've achieved that goal or not. Wordsmithing here will be the most difficult part. Make sure you spend some time with it and make sure you get some feedback from others that are close to you as to whether or not it's a SMART goal or not.